All right, we want to welcome everyone, and by that I really mean everyone. You know, we're thankful, extremely grateful to be graced with uh, a listening audience that's just like us. Listening by that I mean, we have this ability to magnetize our uh, like-minded uh, I wanted to say friends. Yes, friends, indeed. There are people that have moving in the same direction as we are, you know, mentally as well as in terms of how they're feeling about things, and we want to greet you on that basis, so we greet you as friends, as family, not as a distant listening audience, you know,
Right,
because we're one with you and you're one with us,
right.
and that's the spirit we come to you in. And so greetings, feel comfortable, relax. We are engaging the opportunity today to give attention to, and most letter environments in terms of alphabets, no matter what language you speak, it comes as actually as the second letter. In English, it's the letter B. In the Arabic, it's the letter Bayt or Ba. And I think it's in Greek, it's beta. It's beta.
Yes.
Yeah, and so on. Well,
Mhm.
so you get the drift. The second letter, but we have reason to believe that it very well might be the first letter, and maybe that'll come up in our discussion, about this letter Bait. So let me just introduce my compadre, international instructor Benjamin Bilal. I'm sure that if you've been paying any attention at all, you all have already been introduced to his work, if not the person. And he's indeed my compadre. We again, the people that moving in the direction you're moving in, moving in the same frequency, and you'll hear a lot more from us about that frequency. Even as we discuss this letter of bait, we very well might touch upon that. But uh, I'll let my compadre, as I just called him, let him introduce himself and give us a very uh, brief intro to this letter, bait or ba in the Arabic and B in English.
Great. All right. Greetings to all of the listeners and learners out there. And for me, this is going to be a very exciting session based on the letter that we're dealing with. The letter B is a very important letter in all alphabet. And as my compadre said, this is probably, technically speaking, the first letter. I know everybody's thinking that the letter A is the first letter, but I believe that the letter B is the first technical letter. And when I say technical, I'm talking about a letter that when it is pronounced, it tells you basically everything you need to know about itself. You know,
Hmm.
B is an explosion.
Hmm.
B is called a plosive letter, and you hear that word plosive in the word explosive.
Mhm.
And there are only two letters in all of the systems that we have that are considered to be plosive letters. They are the letter B, and in English, at least, there's the letter P. And you can hear in both of those sounds the B and the P, which simply means that it's a letter that comes out of nowhere and suddenly it's there with you.
Hmm.
Comes out of nowhere and then suddenly, oh, here it is, right? It's almost like the birth, beep, 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 the
Hmm.
birth of a baby that's
Hmm.
being born. So I just gave you three examples of how B is actually treated in the English language. Uh, but in the Arabic language, this letter is called a Bayt. Some might just say ba, but that's a truncated form of the actual letter. This happens throughout history in various languages that it has one particular a way of expressing itself and it becomes lessened or what they call truncated. So it began as Bayt, B-A-Y-T or B-A-I-T, whichever you choose to spell it, whichever way you choose to spell it. But it was truncated, it was shortened out of convenience sometimes. And I believe also sometimes the message that comes along with the full version of the letter is just too much information, you know,
Mhm.
for once the language starts to reach common people like you and I. So let's talk about what the letter Bayt means. First in Arabic, since Arabic is the older language. The word Bayt actually means house,
Mm.
but there's a meaning for Bayt that was in existence even before it came to mean house. Keep this in mind that every letter in the Arabic letter system was originally referring to a part of the human body.
Mm.
And we know that the house is not a part of the human body, right? But there are parts of the human body that emulate this particular letter, that express this particular letter. One of those areas is the abdomen, or what we might call the belly. You see all of these B's in the language, right? The in Arabic it's called the butun. Butun. Say still with the B, right? And what it is saying to us is that it represents an area of the body that fills up and then empties itself as the vowels do, another B word, right? And then refills.
You know,
How about
even
that?
even the whole body. You just use that word, right?
Yes, the whole
How few
body,
of
and
how
especially
few
when we breathe, you were filling the lungs up
Right,
with
right.
air that needs to be then expressed and then refilled. So it's anything in the body that fills up,
Mhm.
empties itself, and then refills. It's really that simple. Now, that's the reason why it came to mean house,
Hmm.
because that's the natural movement in the average house, that it fills up with family members. If there's a wife or a woman in the household and she's having babies, especially, she gets pregnant and she has another baby, her belly fills up with the baby, but
Mhm.
her belly eventually empties and then she can become re-impregnated
Hmm.
with another life. And that can happen. I know people who have had five and six and seven and eight, and nine and 10 children in one woman.
Hmm.
You know, going back, we're talking about what happened in the 40s and the 50s. That wasn't an uncommon sight to see women in a household married to one man
Hmm.
from whom she had nine and 10 babies from. It wasn't like today, where all
Hmm.
of the babies are from a different father. You know, they call it the baby daddy syndrome. That ain't what we're talking about. We're
No,
talking
no.
about, yeah,
We had six in our family, and we thought that was a small family.
how about that?
Yeah.
How about that? And it's interesting that it was back during a time when we were supposedly much poorer than we are now, you know, much more unable to take care of a family that large. But nevertheless, we did it. So this Bayt represents a house that fills up, that empties, and then that refills. And as I said, when you breathe, another B word, it does the same thing. Your lungs fill up with air, it then empties out, and then it refills. We call it inhaling and exhaling. Okay. So we're saying this to let you know that each one of these letters are to be found in the nature, in nature, Mother Nature. In Arabic, we call it the fitra. And the fitra represents not only the form, but it also represents the level of functionality. So it's form and it is function. It is how it looks to the casual observer, but it is also how it acts, how it functions. Because you can have form and be dysfunctional as a person. You can have a form. You can be the flyest thing on the block, you know, come Saturday night. But when we sit down and talk to you, there's nobody home. And so the functionality is not there. We call it being dysfunctional. So these letters play a significant role in the human being understanding what his and her value actually is as a human being.
You know,
And mhm,
and not only in terms of the individual, but also in terms of the group, the collection. I'm thinking in terms of the family, you know.
that's right.
In order to have a functional family, you can have the form, but in order
Mm,
to have a functional family, it certainly helps to understand the thing that you're using to communicate with other members of the family, the husband to the wife to the husband, the parents to the children, the sibling to sibling, in order to understand that and make that work for you where you can have peace and progress in the family, then it certainly helps to be able to understand the sounds, the words that you're using
absolutely.
at exchange.
You mentioned the premier word when we're talking about understanding letters. You mentioned the word sound. And sound, sound in English is used in different ways. Sound is also spoken of when relating to the mind.
Mm,
They say, is he of sound mind? Because sound means whole.
mhm,
Sound means it's all together, it's working functionally,
mm,
right? And if you notice in the word person, that word son, that suffix is from the word sound, because they named the human being a person because per means by way of, meaning this is how we come here. And son is from sonere, which means sound in Latin. So these are keys and clues in the language, hidden in the language or put in the language. I don't know if it was hidden intentionally, but our job is to eventually excavate or dig up and dig out the jewels that were left by scholars of old in order for us to understand what this language is all about. And if you don't understand the language, then you can't truly appreciate the language. And that's true for English. That's true for Arabic. If you're reading the Quran, especially, you have to understand where these sounds come from. And all of them, I repeat, are byproducts of the human body itself. So we spoke about Aleph last week, the letter A. We didn't go deep into Aleph, but we'll backtrack and do that. And it represents the spine, that which is holding the whole body structure up and in place. But the B comes in because it represents what's happening in the belly area and also beneath the belly in terms of the testicles, because they fill up with life-giving fluid called sperm. It's eventually emptied in some form or fashion. And then it refills magically, it seems. It just refills. And this is how populations stay on planet Earth, and have been here since time immemorial.
And there's a slang word that came from somewhere about the testicles that starts with a B, so
It
that
certainly is.
that was no mistake, I'm sure.
That's right. Yes, no mistake at all. No, it's all intentional.
And I
Uh,
think in
mhm.
closing, uh, I think it's good for us to make note of the fact that the reason why uh, the work that we do is so important for ourselves, for our families, for the whole humanity, is that it gives us an ability to get a hold of this thing that we call life, you know and right in get again in your home environment, where you can gain actually understanding, where you can gain more appreciation of your relationships, and
Yes.
grow, and you can actually direct and your life. You can govern your life. You can create the kind of life you want for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and what letter other than ba, the bait, in the home environment? I mean, that's so important for us to really
It
understand
is
what letter is all about. So, any
supremely, supremely important.
closing remarks from you as we
Yeah. Well, the closing remark is that this letter, ba or bait, is also important in understanding that when you're in the home and understanding that the home is actually the original environment for every family. It's not the business place, it's not the workplace, it's not the environment. It's not construction work. It's none of these things. The original environment that all of us had to come through as a womb of development is actually the family. So the letter B also came to mean with.
Mm.
It came to mean in, and it also came to mean with, because there's a phrase in the Quran that says Bismillah. I'm sure many people, even those who are not Muslims, have heard that phrase, Bismillah. It begins with B, and it's saying B, Ism Allah.
Mm.
B means with, Ism means name, and Allah means the source creator of all. So when you're in the family, as soon as a baby is born, the mother and father are then with the child.
Mm.
The child is in the home now, so it can also mean in, but it more importantly means with, because there are a lot of family members that can be in the same house, but they're really not with each other. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes your best friend is going to be, you know, homeboy down the block who you doing something you got no business with, but you don't pay the same kind of consideration to your little sister. You don't sit down and read with her. You don't take her to the park, for recreation. So we can be in, but a closer representation of what this letter is speaking to is the concept of being with.
Mm. With that, there's so much in
There
each
is.
letter. And especially
Yeah.
in Bay and Bayt, there's so much in that.
Yes.
We,
Yes.
we could spend probably a lifetime just talking about that one sound,
Absolutely.
one letter, that one concept, and
Yeah.
we thank the source creator for having the opportunity to share these thoughts. And again, there's so much that we want to share with you, and we will, God willing, in the future. We'll go into more detail, not only on Bait, but Aleph, we'll visit that again. And
Yes.
there's what, 27, 26, 27 more letters that we have to share
Mhm.
with.
That's right.
Stay tuned.
Amazing.
And again, we appreciate your time, your paying attention, because that's
Yes.
that's when the tire hits the pavement, when each of us
Absolutely.
got
That's the
attention.
only payment we'll ever ask you for, is to pay attention.
That's it.
All right.
So with that, we greet you, and we appreciate you, we love you, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Yes. Peace to all who are listening. Thank you.